Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the City Commission meeting, our regular meeting this September 3rd, 2024. I appreciate all of you being here today. It's time to get started with our meeting. For those of you who are here for the first time, I'd like to let you know that we begin our meeting with Pledge of Allegiance, a moment of silence, and we do agenda announcements, and we have 5 presentations tonight. So I'd like you to all join me in welcoming Shauna Roberts, Giselle Williams, and Brooklyn Hibbert of Bass Park Play After School. Please join me at the podium, and we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance together. Put your right hand on your heart. And you may go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Hold on. I got something for you.
I'm kidding.
Token of our appreciation for your being here. Someone's birthday today, right? Let's sing happy birthday to you. Come on. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear. Happy birthday to you. Congratulations. Okay, very good. Thank you. Now, if you could please join me in a moment of silence. Great, thank you. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Herbst? Vice Mayor Glassman?
Here.
Commissioner Beasley-Pittman?
Here.
Commissioner Sturman?
Here.
Mayor Trentalis?
Here. So we have full attendance. Some agenda announcements. M3, City Manager requests that, City Manager requests M3 that we remove that from the agenda. So if anyone is here on that item, we will not be considering it tonight. Also, some changes to the agenda. CM8, the staff has revised the CAM to correct the property address. CR2, Exhibit 3, resolution was revised to correct the date in Section 1. And CR4, the agenda title should include both Commission Districts 1 and 2.
Yes.
Otherwise, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes and the agenda as amended?
Mayor, I just have one slight edit to the June 18th, 2024 minutes.
Okay, what's that?
On page 2, that is the City Commission regular meeting. Under presentation 1, Robert's last name is Kesten, the director of the Stonewall National Museum.
Keston.
Yes. Thank you. That's it. And with that, I can move the amendment, move that and move the minutes as well and agenda.
So approval of the minutes as amended and the agenda as amended.
Yes.
Do I hear a second? Been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley-Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Yes. Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and the minutes and the agendas as amended have now been approved. So now we begin our presentation portion of tonight's meeting. And it's my honor to ask Commissioner Sturman to present the first proclamation regarding Hunger Action Month, and to ask Tracy Wiggin of Feeding South Florida if she can please approach the podium along with the Commissioner. Thank you.
This is particularly pertinent now that we're dealing with this homeless situation in the state, as well as my deep commitment that nobody should go nobody should go hungry to bed at night. So I want to, first of all, thank you so much for everything you do. On behalf of the city of Fort Lauderdale, I want to read this proclamation. In recognition of Hunger Action Month, whereas since 1981, Feeding South Florida has been an unwavering force in the battle against hunger in Fort Lauderdale and tirelessly providing nourishment to our most vulnerable in the community. And whereas the city of Fort Lauderdale stands resolute in its commitment to raising awareness about issues with hunger and providing vital resources to support the well-being of our residents. And whereas, this is impressive, more than 1 million individuals in South Florida, including 500,000 children and seniors, depend on the food and groceries provided by Feeding South Florida and its partners each year. That's unbelievable. And whereas Feeding South Florida leads the charge in hunger and poverty advocacy within our community, transforming lives through groundbreaking programs and education that foster economic growth, health, and overall well-being. And whereas Feeding South Florida, a proud member of the Feeding America and Feeding Florida networks, demonstrates exceptional stewardship by reinvesting 98% of donations into our communities, upholding high standards, and presenting a unified front against hunger. And whereas Feeding South Florida's vast network of community partners is committed to their mission to end hunger. This Hunger Action Month, let's strengthen these bonds, amplify our collective impact, and ensure that no one in our community faces food insecurity alone. Now, therefore, we, as City Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, do hereby proclaim September 2024 as Hunger Action Month, dated this 3rd day of September 2024 by our Mayor, the Honorable Dean Trentalis. Thank you so much.
On behalf of Feeding South Florida and the community that we serve, we want to thank the City of Fort Lauderdale for supporting our initiatives. It is extremely important for everyone to get involved, and from day to day we see how impacted our community is. And we thank everyone for participating and supporting, and we welcome you into our community and into Feeding South Florida to continue to support our initiative. Thank you.
And thank you for all the great work. And thank you for all the great work that Feeding South Florida has done, especially in times of COVID and ever since. You're just an amazing partner in our community. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. And now I would like to introduce Commissioner Beasley Pittman to present a proclamation regarding National Police Women's Day in the city of Fort Lauderdale. And I'd like to invite Assistant Chief Lynette Falzone and the women of the Fort Lauderdale Police Department who are here today to join the Commissioner at the podium.
Don't stop. Keep clapping. This is amazing. Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to be able to present this proclamation this afternoon. It is from the Office of the Mayor in recognition of National Police Woman Day. Whereas on September 12th of each year, we honor the extraordinary women who have dedicated their lives to protecting and serving our communities as law enforcement officers. National Police Woman Day is a time to celebrate their courage and their resilience, their commitment to justice, and their invaluable contributions to public safety. And whereas the City of Fort Lauderdale proudly acknowledges the 113 sworn female officers serving our community with dedication and distinction, including 52 parole officers, 25 detectives, 11 sergeants, 2 lieutenants, 1 captain, 1 assistant chief, and 21 officers of other specialty units. And whereas women currently comprise only of 10% of the police force nationwide, and we strive to increase female representation throughout active recruitment, mentorship programs, and educational opportunities. And whereas we celebrate trailblazers like Marie Owens, the first policewoman in the United States, and Alice Wells, the first American-born policewoman who paved the way for generations of women in law enforcement. And whereas we acknowledge the historical challenges faced by women in law enforcement and applaud their resilience in overcoming discrimination and achieving equality. And whereas women in law enforcement embodied courage, strength, and compassion, serving as role models for young women aspiring to pursue careers in public service. Now, therefore, we, as the City Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, do hereby proclaim September 12, 2024 as National Police Women's Day in the City of Fort Lauderdale, and encourage all residents in joining us in expressing our deepest gratitude to the women of the Fort Lauderdale Police Department and all law enforcement officers protecting us and our communities across this great nation. Dated the third day of September 2024, signed by Mayor Dean J. Trantelis. At this time, we'll allow for them. Yes, please stand.
We're very grateful for your appreciation and for the proclamation that you put out for the officers. And we're hiring, so if anybody wants to join us.
One more.
One of the girls.
Once again, thank you for your service and continue to be safe. Thank you.
Don't the men get anything? Not this time.
Not today.
Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, now I'd like to introduce the Vice Mayor Stephen Glassman, to present a proclamation regarding the ABA Centers of Florida Day here in the city of Fort Lauderdale. And I'd like the members of the ABA Centers of Florida, if they could please join the Vice Mayor at the podium.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And Mayor, I hope I don't leave anyone out. If I do, please accept my apologies and let me know. But I want to introduce Christopher Barnett, founder and chairman, Elizabeth Grady, Jason Barker, Joseph Hallner, Katie Murphy, Christy Johnson, Larissa Hitchcock, Michael Holzum Jr., and Nicole Hernandez. Did I leave anyone out?
No.
Okay.
And a partridge.
There you go. Thank you. Well, this is my pleasure, Mayor. As you know, earlier in the day, we talked about how important our businesses are in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm extremely proud to introduce the community to this particular business. I'm going to read a proclamation from the Office of the Mayor, City of Fort Lauderdale, in recognition of ABA Centers Day. Whereas ABA Centers, founded in 2020, provides applied behavior analysis, ABA, therapy to children with autism through a play-based positive reinforcement approach. And whereas ABA Centers, headquartered in Fort Lauderdale, operates in 29 markets across 10 states and Washington, D.C., employing over 1,500 team members. And whereas the company aims to revolutionize autism care by eliminating wait times for diagnosis and treatment, providing strategically designed centers for optimal growth, and offering in-home and in-school therapy for comprehensive, personalized care. And whereas on August 13th, ABA Centers achieved the number 5 spot on the 2024 Inc. 5000 list, recognizing the fastest growing private companies in America. Let me repeat that, because then you can applaud. Whereas on August 13th, ABA Centers achieved the number 5 spot on the 2024 Inc. 5000 list, recognizing the fastest growing private companies in America. And whereas ABA Centers achieved this significant achievement through a strategy of organic growth, establishing new clinics without reliance on acquisitions, private equity investment, or significant debt financing. And whereas this accomplishment is a testament to the team's dedication, innovation, and the transformative impact ABA Centers is making on the autism community. Now, therefore, we, as City Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, do hereby proclaim September 3rd, 2024, as ABA Centers Day in the City of Fort Lauderdale, dated this, the 3rd day of September, 2024, and signed by our Mayor, the Honorable Dean J. Trentalis. Mayor, come down and join us for this photo, please.
Thank you.
And this is Chris. Chris, would you like to say a few words?
We're just honored to be here today. You know, a company like ours has a lot of options for where it puts its headquarters, and we couldn't be in a better city than Fort Lauderdale.
I agree.
Conducive to business, so we're grateful to be able to make an impact on the local community.
Let's do a photo. You get in the middle. Hold this proclamation. Good? We don't want to block anyone? We're good? Face this way.
Can we play it?
Of course.
Very good. Thank you.
All right. Congratulations.
Congratulations. I'll see you tomorrow morning.
You bet. Congratulations. Congratulations. You bet.
For our next presentation, it is my honor to present a proclamation declaring September 2024 as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month here in the city of Fort Lauderdale. And I'd like to invite Allison Myers, who's president of the League of Women Voters, to please join me at the podium. Is Allison here? There you are. So from the Office of the Mayor of the City of Fort Lauderdale, this proclamation in recognition of National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month here in September of 2024. Whereas suicide tragically claims the lives of over 50,000 Americans each year, and unfortunately I just received a text about 10 minutes ago that we received notice of another suicide here in Fort Lauderdale, equating to one death every 11 minutes. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention indicate that firearms are the most common method used in these devastating acts. Suicide impacts our veterans profoundly, with nearly 7,000 veterans' lives are lost annually. It is also a leading cause of death among first responders. To address this public health concern, Hero for Hero and 211 Broward have partnered to provide crucial peer support specialists to first responders and their families. The initiative ensures our community stands ready to offer support when it is most needed. The American Academy of Pediatrics, the Children's Hospital Association, and the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry have declared a national emergency in child mental health. Since 2007, suicide rates have tragically risen among young people aged 10 to 24, making it the second leading cause of death for this age group. That's 10 through 24. Whereas recognizing the signs of depression that may lead to suicidal thoughts is imperative. These signs include talking about wanting to die, expressing feelings of isolation and hopelessness, increased substance abuse, and severe mood swings. And whereas knowing how to effectively intervene during a crisis is equally crucial, this involves directly asking if the person is considering suicide, ensuring their safety by restricting access to lethal means like firearms or medications, and actively seeking professional help. The League of Women Voters of Broward County demonstrates remarkable leadership in suicide prevention through their community education and their Lock It Up program, which promotes safe firearm storage to reduce suicide risk. Finally, 211 Broward serves as a vital 24-hour helpline, offering crisis, health, and human services support and connections to community services. If you or someone you know is in crisis, please reach out for help. Dial 211. It's that easy, 211, or call or text the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. That's 988. Now, therefore, we, as City Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale, do hereby proclaim September 2024 as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, signed by myself, Mayor Dean Trentalis, dated this September 3rd. Congratulations. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good evening. On behalf of the Broward County chapter and the Florida chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics, I'd like to thank the Commission for recognizing Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And I think one thing that is really critical in all of this is to remember that 50,000 Americans die by suicide each year, and half of them by firearm. And I just want to thank everybody for your support and your recognition for an important cause. Locking up guns saves lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Finally, again, it is my honor to present the last presentation, which will be a proclamation declaring October 17th to 24th, 2024 as Florida Climate Week in the city of Fort Lauderdale. We're doing this tonight because it's convenient for the managing director to be able to be here. So I'd like to invite Shannon Manganesian, did I pronounce that correctly? Who's the operations director of the Volo Foundation, and Sandra Baker, South Florida PBS managing director and city resident. Please join me at the podium. So from the Office of the Mayor of the City of Fort Lauderdale, this proclamation in recognition of Florida Climate Week, October 7th through 13th, 2024. Whereas the 2023 United Nations International Panel on Climate Change Synthesis Report highlights a temperature rise of 1.1 degrees Celsius over the last 100 years, causing frequent extreme weather and disrupting the planet. Boy, do we know about that in our city, right? It warns of more weather disasters as temperatures continue to rise. Whereas Florida's 825 miles of coastline and low-lying communities are in the crosshairs of rising seas and climate-related disasters, increasing ocean temperatures also threaten our precious coral reefs and our marine life. The city of Fort Lauderdale is continually improving its efforts to adapt to and mitigate climate change. For example, in 2021, the City Commission took a major step forward by setting goals to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions. These goals target both city operations, aiming for net zero emissions by 2040, and the entire community by 2050. Whereas in 2022, the Fort Lauderdale joined the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives Race to Zero, affirming its commitment and pledging action. In 2023, the city began developing a roadmap to achieve net zero. Each of us can contribute significantly to the city's net zero goals and reduce our environmental impact through adopting sustainable practices in our daily lives, such as conserving energy, using renewable energy resources, opting for active or low-emission transportation, and making informed choices about our vehicles. Finally, the Volo Foundation and the City of Fort Lauderdale are dedicated to educating our residents about Florida Climate Week and empowering them to become climate champions and help protect our beautiful city. Now, therefore, we, as City Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale, do hereby proclaim the week of October 7th through 13th, 2024 as Florida Climate Week here in the City of Fort Lauderdale, dated this September 3rd, 2024, and signed by myself, Mayor Dean Trentalis. Congratulations. Would you like to say a few words? Absolutely.
Huge thanks to the City of Fort Lauderdale from the government side and the residents side for everything you guys are doing to promote sustainability. Volo Foundation is a Florida local grant maker nonprofit, and we support science-based climate solutions. We enhance equitable education and work to improve health. Climate change is a global issue, but the effects are local, and we all feel them, whether it's longer pollen seasons and increased heat or rising and expanded water tables. So we're just grateful to all of you. And the week that Mayor mentioned, 70 plus NGOs will host live and virtual events, so you can tune in at floridaclimateweek.org. Thank you.
Thank you. What does Volo stand for?
Vogel Lopez. It's the couple that started it.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think as a community we can be proud that the City of Fort Lauderdale achieved the LEED's Gold designation this past year in our continued attempt to try to reach that net zero goal. Okay, that's it for presentations tonight. Thank you all for being here and for participating. So at this point, we go to our section called the consent agenda. The consent agenda is an opportunity for the Commission to approve a certain number of items collectively as opposed to voting on them separately. We would ask that anyone who's interested on the Commission who wants to pull an item to please indicate now as I call upon you, and we will vote on that and discuss that separately. So, Commissioner Herbst, are you pulling any items? None. Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
None.
Vice Mayor?
None.
And Commissioner Sturman?
Believe it or not, none.
Okay. There are several people who signed up to speak on some of these items, but it's just for questions. Jacqueline, where are you? Yeah, you just to answer questions. Did you want to speak on it? Okay. And Ellen Bogdanoff, okay. But Ted and Sarah, you wanted to speak on CR6, correct? Yes. Why don't you come on up? Come on up. But in the meantime, while you're doing that, will someone move to approve all items of the consent agenda except CR6? So moved. It's been moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Yes. Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and all those items on the consent agenda are now approved. And I would like to invite Mr. Insera to speak on CR6, which is approving the use of the Metro Transportation Engineering Construction Cooperative to administer and design construction of the Southeast-Southwest 17th Street Mobility Hub project utilizing Federal Transit Administration grant funding. Mr. Insera.
Thank you very much. My name is Ted Insera. I'm the president of the River Oaks Civic Association. I spoke against this the first time, and now it here is again, and it's the same exact plan as it was before, so I'm here to speak against it again. It's we're the Tree City USA, and this is the exact opposite of being the Tree City USA. It has four different sections from Southwest 9th Avenue to Southwest 4th Avenue. They want to extend the sidewalk. It's hit and miss. Some houses have it, some don't. Across the street on the north side of 17th Street, it is a full sidewalk. Now, these houses that don't have the sidewalk have their landscaping yard all the way to the road. They would, to put a sidewalk in to go right down there, number of trees would have to be taken out, major oak trees. A lot of these people park because on that part of the road right in parallel to 17th Street, so now they would be parking on a sidewalk, and you would force them to break the law because they've been parking there for decades. So, and then just the number of trees it would take out is just, you know, there are some streets in Croissant Park that don't have any sidewalks. Now, across the street, there's a full sidewalk. We don't need to connect the sidewalk on the south side of 17th Street. Now, the other section from 4th Avenue to the railroad tracks, good. I'm fine. Everything's fine there. The next section is from the railroad, from Andrews Avenue to 3rd Avenue. Now, again, you're taking out the medium strip because you want to increase the turning lanes. And again, in the median strip, there's some beautiful trees right there that would have to go. And just making that part of 17th Street just barren. Now, the last part from 3rd Avenue east to US 1, oh my gosh, you want to put in, for some unknown reason, a pedestrian crosswalk where in the middle of between 3rd Avenue and Federal Highway, where it would go nowhere. And again, the medium strip, you would take out major oak trees to put in a crosswalk that is just not needed. This is a flawed design. I know it's funded by the government. I guess you have a certain amount of time in order to use it, either spend it or lose it. But I have a much better plan than what this one is to accommodate the exact thing. Again, it would take out lots of trees. It would make 17th Street, which is a main thoroughfare with our tourists and visitors from Andrews Avenue east to Federal Highway, basically barren of any trees and just some looking like Northeast 3rd Avenue or any other street that's just, it's just too many trees taken out. And I'm 100% against it. Thanks.
Okay. Ben, do you have any comments on this? Oh, Milos.
Hey, good evening, Milos.
It sounds devastating. What's going on here?
No, not at all. So just to give you some background, so there were several meetings before this concept, which is only a concept, was approved by the City Commission and also by the community. So action before you is to approve really MTEC to advance this concept into design 30, 60, 90, and 100%. Along this way, there will be additional opportunities for public input. When we came to City Commission in April of this year, this also came up, and we understand the importance of the trees. And at that point, we had an MPO, project manager in here, which is here tonight as well. MPO did commit to even bring community members out in field so that we can point out the trees that might be impacted and to avoid basically impact to the trees. So the location forwarded this morning by Mr. Insera was exactly location of the proposed crosswalk. There may be impact to one tree, but again, we'll be working together with the design team who is already aware of the importance of the trees to make a workable plan, basically.
So is the allegation that we're removing many, many trees, do you understand this to be the case?
There is that allegation, but that might not be the case. And again, design team and us will be working together to avoid that impact. If we want to have an MPO project manager in here,
Mr. Insera brought this up to our commission attention a number of meetings ago, and it concerned the commission at the time. And we asked for staff to review it to make sure that we were not reducing the canopy along that corridor, and that we were in fact enhancing the usability of 17th Street as opposed to, the problem is that the MPO wants to create a path between the proposed commuter rail station and all the way to US 1, and and we got the impression last time that it was, hell bent on getting a path created regardless of what it had to take down or interfere with existing use of that section. And we were told at that time that you were going to work with the stakeholders and the community to ensure that the best possible scenario could be achieved. And we're hearing tonight.
This is the same exact plan as before, exactly.
Okay, and we're hearing now tonight that there's still issues with that. You want to chime in on this?
Sure.
Your turn.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Christopher Restrepo. I'm project manager for the 17th Street Mobility Hub project from the Broward Metropolitan Planning Organization. And I hear your concerns. I really do. And the last time we spoke, I heard them as well. I just want to make a couple points of clarification, if that's okay. The first set of trees that you're concerned about, and they're on Andrews Avenue up on the westbound approach going towards southbound Andrews Avenue, or 17th Street westbound going to southbound Andrews. Currently, right now, we are proposing to extend that left turn lane to create more storage for left turn. It was something that we heard from the community that they would appreciate to have a little bit more of that storage on the roadway. And the trees that exist right there are ornamental palm trees. They are not oak trees right now. So we believe that it was appropriate that we could remove some of those trees, of course, replacing them, because with this project, we do have a very healthy budget as part of our FTA grant, Federal Transit Administration grant, to have landscaping as a line item for this. So we actually want to increase the canopy for all the trees along the corridor, because we want to create a more a short shade canopy for those transit users. There is one, and you bring up a good point, and I do want to say thank you so much for keeping us honest on this project. There is one tree, one oak tree, that could potentially be a problem. And we do have it listed on our diagrams as a potential for removal. I want to thank you for coming up and discussing this with us, because I don't want to remove the tree. You don't want to remove the tree. I don't think anybody else here wants to remove the tree. We do have a very creative group of designers that will be working on this project, and we will do everything to make sure that we do not remove this tree so that we can accommodate a mid-block crossing. If we determine that mid-block crossing does need that tree removed, we won't have the mid-block crossing. But we do want to make sure that we still keep those facilities, those allocations of land for bicycle and pedestrian needs, and also transit user needs. So we will not be removing any oak trees.
Can I ask
Sure.
one question?
Go right ahead.
What about in between 9th Avenue and 4th Avenue when you're extending the sidewalk? If you walk in a straight line where the sidewalk would be, you're continually hitting your head on trees.
Yeah, and I believe city staff, they went on a walk with you,
Yeah.
right? So we do not want to remove any of those trees. Again, right now for design concepts, it's a lot easier to draw a single line that shows where we're proposing, or where we're identifying where those gaps are, where we need to put in sidewalk. But when it comes down to design, because right now we're at like a 15%, once we go to 30, 60, and 90%, we'll get very specific of where those sidewalks are going to go. And they could potentially meander around the trees. And if that's acceptable, if that's ADA compliant, we will do that. If it's not, then we won't impact the trees. We won't have sidewalks. We'll continue with the gaps.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Ben, you wanted to say a few words too.
Thank you, Commissioner. No, I was just going to let the mayor know that we did meet with Mr. Insera after the last meeting, as you requested. We went out and we actually walked the facilities a couple blocks with him, took down a lot of his concerns and provided to the project team. And that, as Mueller said, this is just to take it to the next step so we can start the design process and turn that vision into reality and identify all of the challenges before we get there.
Okay, but I just heard it said that if the pathway interferes with trees, we're just not going to put a sidewalk there. I mean, we can't not have a sidewalk. So what did you mean by that?
I'll clarify. This is for the residential segment between 9th Avenue and 4th Avenue.
Right.
So east of the school. If there is community non-support for the sidewalk, we're not going to force anything on the community that they do not want.
Well, no. Let's back up here.
Okay.
We need sidewalks.
Yes,
Okay.
I
We
agree.
can't have a sidewalk, then it stops, and there's a bunch of trees, and the sidewalk starts up again. That doesn't make any sense, especially to be ADA compliant, number one, and number two, bicyclists who use sidewalks, they shouldn't be pushed onto the street, and so there has to be a way to accommodate both the installation of a sidewalk as well as maintain the integrity of the canopy.
And we believe there is the sufficient enough space to do both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one other thing, we've had a whole host of community meetings. We've had some workshops we've hosted. MPO has hosted a few of those. We met with the presidents of all the neighborhoods privately. We met them publicly. And just give me a synopsis of how that went.
Yeah, we've met with a number of different stakeholders. We met with the hospital. We met with the school board. We met with the heads of the HOA. We had numerous meetings with them to discuss potential ideas. The consensus was that we need safe facilities for bicyclists and for pedestrians, especially with the new transit that's coming to the area. There were two alternatives that were originally proposed for this project. One was looking at bike lanes on each side of the road, north and south, and the other was to do a cycle track just on the south side of the roadway. That one was proposed once before, so we wanted to make sure that we kept that as an alternative. However, it did require the removal of a lot of trees. There were a lot of public feedback that said that they did not prefer that alternative, so we went with the first one, which was the bicycle lanes on each side of the roadway. In addition to just them being single bike lanes, they're raised bike lanes, so they will have that protection that they're curb separated, so they do not have to interact with any of the vehicles of the traffic. So all good support. There are a lot of good support from the school board as well, because there are a couple mid-block crossings that we're proposing in front of the school. I believe actually it's just one, not a couple, it's one. And they identified that there were a lot of students that were crossing there, so having a safer facility for them to do so would be very good. The hospital shared a lot of their plans that they were expecting, especially with their parking. Right now, they're using the surface parking on the south side, and they have to cross the street to go to the north. And that's going to be that way for the time being as they develop their plan. So they really appreciated the crosswalks that we're proposing on this corridor. And we're also meeting with Broward County Transit to make sure that whatever investment they have there with their proposed Primo plan, we're in lockstep and we're coordinating with them.
Okay, thank you.
One question, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
You had mentioned that there were several palm trees that will be removed. Where exactly are that location?
That's right in front of the hospital on 17th Street as you approach Andrews Avenue.
Okay. And what species of tree will be replaced there, if any?
So in the median, we would not be able to place any trees, but we are proposing to have a landscape median on the north side and the south side of the roadway. So we actually worked with the city of Fort Lauderdale's arborists to help identify some of those trees. I don't have those names on the top of my head, but I heard the name Gumbo Limbo be tossed around, and I know that we have quite a few of them around here, and they do. Once they're mature, they do provide a good canopy.
Thank you.
Any other questions? There being none, thank you, Mr. Ansara, for keeping us honest.
I'm very good with gumbo limbos.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve CR6?
Just need an introduction.
Introduce the resolution. Would someone please introduce the resolution? Commissioner Sturman, would you like to introduce the resolution?
I'll introduce it.
Okay, it's been introduced. Please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, approving the use of the Metro Transportation Engineering and Construction Cooperative to administer design and construction of the Southeast-Southwest 17th Street Mobility Hub project utilizing Federal Transit Administration grant funding and providing for an effective date. Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley-Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Mayor Chantalis?
Yes, and that resolution is now approved. Thank you. Thank you for coming to our meeting tonight. I appreciate it. Moving on to M1, motion approving a comprehensive agreement with the Water Taxi of Fort Lauderdale to construct, operate, and maintain a water taxi terminal and lease city-owned property located at 1001 Seabreeze Boulevard in the city of Fort Lauderdale. I have several people who signed up to speak. John Miller, just to answer questions, right? And also Matt Sacco, the same thing. Bill Brown, you wanted to speak.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the Commission. Bill Brown, President of Central Beach Alliance. I come before you just to show our support for this master agreement. I can tell you that from day one, once it became public from an unsolicited proposal that Mr. Walker from the Water Taxi reached out to the Central Beach Alliance, has very much engaged our community, taken input, and we look forward to working with him once they finalize the site. The current site, as you know, has been charter boats, and it's an asphalt. There are no trees being removed. They're repairing the seawall. The rendering that he has submitted, very lovely building. It has total community support. And what really makes this project special in a couple ways. One, it supports the transportation of mobility, people coming to the beach. As we know, we have limited parking down on the beach, so a lot of people are using that as a mode of transportation to get to the beach for the major special events. And the second thing is, Mr. Walker has been a pillar of this community for a long time. His word is his bond, and we look forward to continuing that work with him and knowing that this project for the next 50 years will be what he has designed it and wants it to be. So therefore, we stand in support. Thank you.
I expect you to be here for the next 50 years, Bill, and make sure you fulfill that promise, okay?
I'll follow your footsteps, Mayor.
Let me know how that goes. Thank you. Mayor, if I might, I'd just like to add a few words to what Bill just said.
I would never want to hold you back.
I know you don't. Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, I also want to commend this team because I remember the first time they came to me for this project, and they actually did listen to just some of the suggestions, making sure that the building opened up a little bit more glass, a little bit more transparency to the water, just doing some of those things. But I believe that they've really gone above and beyond. I'm pleased with the rent that the city staff has negotiated with them. I think it's very fair. But I also want everyone to understand the public benefits on this project. By the way, this project sits just to the south of the brand new Marina Village opening at Bahia Mar this Thursday. Very much looking forward to that. A wonderful venue where we have brought up the Shirley, which is basically from Fisher Island. It is a ferry that has been totally renovated. It's beautiful.
Have you seen it?
Yes, many kiosks, food kiosks, many new restaurant offerings that we're not familiar with in Broward County coming up from Miami. It's going to be a big hit, and this facility could not be in a better place than right next to the Marina, and right next to what's happening in that part of the Central Beach in our amazing District 2 and in our amazing city. But the developer is actually going further than they needed to. Fire Station 49 improvements, constructing a new enclosed fire engine bay, reconstructing our city's dock. Private dock usage will be available. They're giving the city event space on the roof up to 12 functions a year. And seawall improvements, which is so important. They're going to actually be responsible for the city's seawall in this spot. So I just wanted to say thank you. Also, I do know that, Bill, your organization will benefit because I believe that we're going to have the ability to host local civic association meetings on the site. So I know that that's important also to the Central Beach Alliance. So I just wanted to say thank you and offer my words of congratulations and support because they've been nothing but absolutely receptive from day one when we discussed this project from the very beginning. And I think this is going to be a win-win. It's another mobility option. It will keep more vehicles off of A1A. People will be able to get to this site from all over the city. And I just think it's going to really be beneficial, whether it's a major event on our beach or just people that want to come and recreate or, again, go to any of the venues that are popping up all along this amazing stretch of the beach. So thank you and congratulations.
Okay. Someone like to move the item?
So moved.
And it's been seconded? Has it been seconded? Okay.
A word?
Any further questions or comments with regard to this item?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Bill, let me tell you something. Talking about a P3, though Dean and I, the mayor, sit on the MPO. Anything that gets cars off the road and increases mobility, I think a great project. So thank you very much.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Yes. Mayor Trentalis?
Yes. Congratulations. Thank you very much. See you on Thursday.
And Bill, before you leave, one quick thing. with all the issues coming over homelessness, traffic, infrastructure, it's amazing that there's only one thing we all agree on. We all love Bill. No, it is. Thank you so much.
It's early yet. M2, motion approving the final ranking of firms, negotiated fee schedule, and the award of an agreement for construction, engineering, and inspection services relating to the rehabilitation or replacement of the 48-inch and 54-inch force main along Southeast 9th Avenue and Southeast 10th Avenue to the water treatment plant. No one has signed up to speak. Anyone like to move the item?
I'm so moved.
Okay,
Second.
Second. Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Yes. Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and M2 is now approved. M3 has been deleted from the agenda. M4, motion rejecting. Good night, gentlemen. Rejecting bid for River Oaks traffic calming. Ted and Sarah, you've signed up to speak. Are you still here, Ted? I guess it's calm. Okay. No one else has signed up to speak. Someone like to move the item? Been moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman? Yes. Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Yes. Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and M4 is now approved. M5, motion approving agreements for the purchase of disposal of construction and demolition debris and yard waste, waste management of Florida and coastal waste recycling. It's a 3-year term. Is that $6 million for the 3 years or $6 million for each year?
Total.
That's for the 3 years.
Total.
Okay. Okay. No one has signed up to speak. Someone like to move the item?
So moved.
Wait.
Do I hear a second?
Mayor,
Wait, do I hear a second?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second it so we can open discussion.
I'll be happy to second it.
It's been seconded. Okay, discussion.
Thank you. We're on M3, correct?
Yes.
No.
No.
Oh, I thought we were on M3.
We pulled M3.
Oh, I'm sorry.
M4. M3 is pulled.
Pulled M3.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Okay.
Pulled M3.
Yeah. You just voted on M4.
M3 was removed.
I must have missed that moment.
You seconded M4. You want to second
voted,
M4?
yeah,
you can
you
change
voted
your mind.
yes for M4.
I voted. Okay, thank you. I must
Okay.
be having a moment.
It's okay.
Thank you.
It happens when you get to be your age.
It does. It really does. Thank you.
You seconded M4. You sure you want to second M4?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, M5 is what we're on now. It's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman? Yes. Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Yes. Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and M5 is now approved. Moving on to R1, appointment of board and committee members. Mr. Clerk, please read the names into the record.
Thank you, Mayor. For the September 17th resolution, Nuisance Abatement Board, that's Chris Smith, nominated by Commissioner Sturman. Public Art and Placement Advisory Board, Erica Mohan, and that's a consensus designee of the Broward County's Public Art and Design Committee. And for tonight's resolution, for the Beach Business Improvement District, Ina Lee for the Greater Fort Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce Beach Council Representative, Lori Johnson as the primary member, and Michael Berry as alternate member for the Weston Fort Lauderdale, Anna McDermott, primary member, and Alex Caceres, alternate member for the W Fort Lauderdale, Sabrina Graves, primary member, and Herman Villa, alternate member for the Bee Ocean Resort, Lisa Namor, primary member representing the Bahia Mar, Jose Torres, primary member, and Samuel Fierstman, alternate member for the Ritz-Carlton, Mike Fleming, primary member, and Stephen Zunt, alternate member for the Marriott Courtyard, and Ryan Frederick, primary member, and Jeffrey Peterson, alternate member for the Sonesta. For the Central City Redevelopment Advisory Board, Edward Catalano, nominated by Vice Mayor Glassman, Jason Ross, nominated by Vice Mayor Glassman, Homeless Advisory Committee, Jamie Sturgis, nominated by Mayor Trentalis, Public Art and Placement Advisory Board, Martha Gutierrez Steinkamp, nominated by Commissioner Herbst, and that rounds it out.
Okay, are there any modifications or additions?
I'm sorry, Mayor, one more. We have a commission appointment for the Central Wastewater Region District Advisory Board. There's a vacancy that as of tomorrow, and their next meeting is October 9th, so I guess we don't need an appointment tonight, but
what's this board again?
the Central Wastewater Region District Advisory Board, the large users board.
Is this a city board?
No, it's it's comprised of a few different cities along with.
So it's a county thing.
Right, and city staff is also on it, and the previous appointment was Commissioner Herbst.
Do you want to go back to it?
No.
Are you going to write your memoirs regarding your experience on it?
It was a very pleasant experience. Unfortunately, my schedule does not permit me to continue with these in-person meetings that are during the day. So if anybody else would like to take up, I'm happy to step aside and let them.
Okay. Any takers now? We have a couple meetings till the next meeting.
Correct.
All
Yeah,
right,
it's
so-
not till October 9th is their next meeting.
Okay.
And they're quarterly.
Okay. So think about it, people.
You too.
Yeah. Okay. There are no modifications or additions, so would someone please like to introduce the resolution appointing these members to boards and committees?
Introduce.
It's been introduced. Please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, appointing or nominating, if applicable, board and committee members as set forth in the exhibit attached hereto and made a part hereof. Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and that resolution is now approved, and I want to thank those individuals for their volunteerism and their commitment to our city. Thank you so much. R2, a resolution approving the acceptance of the 2024-2025 SHIP funds, State Housing Initiative Partnership, and to authorize the use of program income, and also to approve the allocation of the SHIP funds for administrative costs. Someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduced.
Resolution's been introduced. Please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, accepting the 2024-2025 State Housing Initiatives Partnership funding in the amount of $1,432,920 and approving the recommended funding allocation for the SHIP program for fiscal year 2024-2025, authorizing the city manager or his or her designee to use earned program income in the estimated amount of $50,000 in addition to the fiscal year 2024-2025 SHIP award for a total estimated funding amount of $1,482,920, authorizing the city manager or his or her designee to allocate 10% of the total SHIP funds plus 5% of any program income towards the city's program administrative costs, delegating authority to the city manager to execute all documents necessary or incidental to receive and administer the SHIP funds, and providing for rescission of conflicting resolutions and providing for an effective date. Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Yes. Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and R2 is now approved. R3, resolution approving a grant agreement with the state of Florida, Florida Department of State, and authorizing the acceptance of grant funds from the Florida Department of State to develop a walking tour design and place associated signage and updated an existing educational website in the Sailboat Bend Historic District. No one has signed up to speak. Someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduced.
It's been introduced. Anyone have any questions? If not, please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, approving a grant agreement and authorizing the acceptance of grant funds from the state of Florida, Florida Department of State, in the amount of $50,000 to develop a walking tour design and place associated signage and update an existing educational website in the Sailboat Bend Historic District, and authorizing the city manager to execute the grant agreement with the Florida Department of State and to accept the grant funding on behalf of the city, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Yes. Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and that resolution is now approved. Moving on to R4. This is a quasi-judicial resolution approving the vacation of an ingress-egress utility and well easement located at 5900 Hawkins Road, and authorizing the city manager to execute an instrument granting and conveying a public drainage easement at the Prospect Lake Clean Water Center. Anyone wishing to speak must be sworn in, and the commission will announce any site visits, expert opinions received, and make them a part of the record. Commissioner Herbst, do you have any disclosures? Okay. Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
No.
I have none. Vice Mayor?
None.
And Commissioner Sturman?
None.
None for District 1 Commissioner. Okay. Two people have signed up to speak. Is Chantel Marecki here? Chantel? Did you want to speak, or you're in support of it, right? Okay. And Jane, you're in support. Okay, got it. All right. Does anyone else wish to speak on this? There being none, do I hear a motion to close public hearing?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Yes. Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, the public hearing on R4 is now closed. Would someone like to introduce the resolution? So introduced, please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, vacating a portion of that platted 50-foot ingress, egress, utility, and well easement, said portion lying along the south line of Track C in the west and south lines of Track B, Palmyra Village, 4th section, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 96, page 35 of the Public Records of Broward County, Florida, located east of U.S. Highway 441, north of Prospect Road, west of Northwest 31st Avenue, and south of West Cypress Creek Road. All said lands being in the City of Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida, and delegating to the City Manager the authority to execute an instrument granting and conveying a public drainage easement on behalf of the City in substantially the form attached. Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Yes. Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and R4 is now approved. Moving on to ordinances of first reading. Thank you, ladies, for coming. You're welcome. OFR 1, first reading of an ordinance amending the City of Fort Lauderdale Unified Land Development Regulations, Section 47-18.15, relating to holiday-related merchandise, outdoor sales to include New Year's Day. No one signed up to speak. Anyone have any questions? Someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduced.
It's been introduced. Please call the roll.
An ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida's Unified Land Development Regulations, Section 47-18.15, entitled Holiday-Related Merchandise Outdoor Sales, to add New Year's Day to the list of permissible holidays for outdoor sales of holiday merchandise, providing for severability, providing for conflicts and repeal, providing for correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Yes. Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and OFR 1 is now approved on first reading. OFR 2, first reading of an ordinance amending the City of Fort Lauderdale Unified Land Development Regulations, Section 47-20.2, parking and loading zone requirements, and Section 47-35, definitions to revise medical office parking requirements. No one signed up to speak. Anyone have any questions here? There being none. So what are we doing here? We're reducing the number of parking requirements for medical offices and what?
From what to what?
Someone want to speak on this?
Yeah. Al, are you able to assist?
There you go.
Good evening, Alfred Battle, Deputy Development Services Department. So the proposed amendment is for medical and dental offices to provide one parking space for 250 square feet. Medical clinic will remain at one parking space per 150 square feet of gross floor area. This is a request to change the requirement. It came to you as a result of a PZB meeting, I want to say back in the early part of this year. Staff went and evaluated the request, spoke with many of the property owners and some of the folks who represent properties throughout the area, and they all agreed that this particular amendment would be helpful to re-energizing older office properties.
So you're saying that doctors' offices don't need as many parking spaces as clinics do, and we're reducing the amount of, is this a medical necessity? No, seriously. There's always is this for new construction of parking area?
This would be for existing, so this could be applied to new as well as the reuse of an existing facility where they wouldn't have as large of a parking need. But there's some information that ITE. The ITE manual has a higher parking rate, and that has been used as the predominant method of determining the parking rate. So with telemedicine, people being able to walk up and not spend as much time there using transportation such as Uber and things
Have
of
you
that
been
nature.
to a doctor's office lately and not spend as much time there? You have to spend an hour waiting for the doctor. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but not to park though. Maybe in the office,
Present company,
we're talking about parking
present
here. Let's
company
take
excluded.
parking. Sure.
But I mean, if you're saying that statistically this is a necessity, I'll take your word for it. But my own experience has been that there's oftentimes difficult places to find a parking space when going to a dentist or going to a regular MD, and and for us now to say that we're going to squeeze the parking again, where are people going to park? I mean, I'm just going to take your word for it, but I'm.
So one other thing, so it's in the memo as well, and I was just going to reference this in response. So we get a lot of requests at PZB, particularly for medical office, for parking reductions of up to 40% for this particular use. So I think we're trying to, and we're listening to the opinion of the board who accepted the recommendation or offered the recommendation for us to consider that the utilization of a car or the utilization of the method of going to these offices needs some further consideration, and we're looking to offer that in the amendment as proposed. Some of the issues you brought up are certainly valid. I myself am coming back from a medical issue and had to, find parking, but at the same time, I was being bought there by somebody else, dropped off and getting picked up, or I would take an Uber. So, I guess it depends on how and how you interface with these types of facilities.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman.
You see it all over my face, right? Question, reducing the parking, how does that benefit the property itself? Why is this a desire to decrease parking?
Sure. So in most cases, it's a cost issue or the inability to have the number of spaces required in order to open a medical office facility. I think there's probably a little bit of both happening here, or both being brought to the attention of the commission and to staff as a reason to consider this particular reduction. So you have the ability to renovate or reutilize existing space for the purposes of this use, and also new buildings, they would not have to have this type of requirement up to the level that we had it at before.
Thank you.
Okay.
Here's the question. Let's say something's, you reduce the parking, and then years later it gets repurposed to a non-medical office.
They'd have to meet the parking use for that particular
They'd have
use.
to somehow add parking.
If need be, if that use required a higher intensity of parking, yes, sir.
So what would be like I don't have a measurement for a site, but what would be like the average parking if we go, say, a 2-story, 50-space building? How many spaces would be provided or available for them?
So let's say the office is 2,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you need what? Right now, you need.
I believe you
need about
20, I believe, because it's right now the parking requirement is one space for 150 square feet of gross floor area.
Right. So you're looking at maybe 16 or 17 spaces necessary. Something like that.
Something
right?
like that. Right.
Okay. That includes staff.
Correct.
Right. So if you have staff people, say you have 5 staff people, now you're down to 10 spaces. I mean, I guess that makes sense. I mean, how many people can a doctor see at one time? Or multiple doctors. I don't know. How do you do it?
Right.
All right. I'm just concerned because I'm always afraid of parking reductions. These standards were set at a time when, when the experts said that this was the requirement, or should be the requirement for the amount of parking. And now you're thinking that telemedicine is taking over. And therefore we don't need as many parking spaces. Is that the thinking?
That's one of the responses. I'm going off of what we've heard from the folks that we ask. Our staff did ask owners and folks who represent property owners who are looking to, reposition properties, what would be their opinion. And again, this came to you as a result of a communication after a PZB meeting where there was a parking reduction approved, and the comment was maybe we should consider doing something a little bit on a larger scale instead of considering case-by-case parking reductions.
But this also, I think, was just to differentiate between like a medical clinic and doctor's office space that might be in a building.
In a building, right.
In a building, because if you read the planning and zoning minutes, it's a very thorough discussion of what this issue really is, and it makes sense. And they voted unanimously to support it. So, but that was a good discussion that they had at planning and zoning, and they really did flesh out the reason for this. It's not as simple as just, parking reduction, but there is a real reason for this in terms of people that are trying to locate their medical offices in buildings, but they can't do it because of this parking requirement.
Can't meet the requirement.
Exactly. So I think there is a good reason for this, and I would support it.
I mean, I understand there's a business necessity, but when I go to my dentist, it's impossible to find a parking space.
Take an Uber.
I'm going to take Uber. Well, I have a car, and I think I'm going to use it. I'm not going to spend money on someone else's car. So
what if he sedates you? It's safer to take an Uber. It just is. It just is. Huh? It just is. Yes, I would just suggest that.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? There being none, would someone? What is this? A resolution? Someone like to introduce the ordinance? Introduce the ordinance on first reading. Thank you, Al.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Would someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduced.
Okay. Please call the roll.
In ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending Article 3 Development Requirements, Section 47-20.2 Parking and Loading Zone Requirements, and Article 11, Section 47-35 Definitions of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida Unified Land Development Regulations relating to parking requirements for medical office use, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinance provisions, codification, and correction of scrivener's errors, and for an effective date. Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
I'm going to say no tonight, no.
Commissioner Sturman?
Tom, if we pass this, we have another bite at this, right? We could, 2 weeks from now, do it. Okay, so for the purposes of keeping it open for discussion, I could say yes. Okay, I'll say yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Yes. Mayor Trentalis?
Yes. So the ordinance is approved on first reading. Moving on to OFR 3, first reading, an ordinance by the City of Fort Lauderdale enacting a new subsection 2-29 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Fort Lauderdale, establishing a code of conduct for the City Commission. Any questions? No one signed up to speak. Please call the roll.
Did anyone introduce?
I'm sorry?
Did someone introduce it? I'm sorry. I didn't.
I'm sorry. Someone like to introduce the ordinance? It's been introduced.
In ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, enacting a new subsection 2-29 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, thereby establishing a code of conduct for the City Commission, providing for correction of scrivener's errors, severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, and an effective date. Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Mayor Trentalis?
Yes. I promise to behave. OFR 4, first reading, an ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, enacting a new subsection 2-220 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, thereby establishing a code of conduct for members of the city boards and committees. Someone like to introduce the ordinance? Introduce. No one has signed up to speak. Any comments or questions? There being none, please call the roll.
In ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, enacting a new subsection 2-220 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, thereby establishing a code of conduct for members of city boards and committees, providing for correction of scrivener's errors, severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, and an effective date. Vice Mayor Glassman?
Just one point of clarification, Tom, on this. I don't see the words task force ever mentioned. I see boards and committees, but would that just also, or do we need to amend this so that we also add the words task force?
We're going to add it in for second reading.
I just would recommend that, just because that would cover everybody, right?
Okay. Yep.
How about blue ribbon committees? Well, that's a separate designation. We did that for the fire bond. So any of those designations, it could be committee, board, task force, and the like.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm having a blank. Task force. Could you give me
Infrastructure task force.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was like a temporary, well, supposedly temporary.
Temporary.
Okay. Can we amend it now or is that for second reading? Okay.
Task force lasted longer than City Hall.
Right. Okay. Where are we?
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman,
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst, Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and OFR 4 is approved on first reading. OSR, these are second reading ordinances. This is an ordinance amending the solid waste charges generally in the city's code of ordinances, adjusting the schedule of rates and charges for sanitation, collection, disposal, and operating costs. Someone like to introduce the ordinance? It's been introduced. No one has signed up to speak. Any questions? Please call the roll.
In ordinance amending Chapter 24, Solid Waste, Section 24-47, charges generally of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, to increase the solid waste rates and providing for an effective date. Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and OSR 1 is now approved on second reading. OSR 2, this is a second reading amending the City of Fort Lauderdale Unified Land Development Regulations concerning the Central Beach Districts and developing permits and procedures, notice procedures to revise the public participation requirements. No one has signed up to speak. Anyone have any questions? There being none, would someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduce.
The ordinance has been introduced. Please call the roll.
In ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending Article 2 zoning district requirements, Section 47-12, Central Beach Districts, Article 4, Section 47-24, development permits and procedures, and Article 7, Section 47-27, notice procedures for public hearings to revise the public participation requirements, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinance provisions, codification and correction of scrivener's errors, and for an effective date. Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and OSR 2 is now approved on second reading. OSR 3, this is a second reading of an ordinance amending the classification table of the pay plan of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, by amending the non-bargaining unit compensation table in Schedule 6, providing a 3% general wage increase effective October 13, 2024, and creating a new classification. No one has signed up to speak. Someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduce.
It's been introduced. Please call the roll.
In an ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending the pay plan of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida by amending the non-bargaining unit compensation table in Schedule 6, special employees providing a 3% general wage increase to all non-bargaining unit employees and all Schedule 6 special employees, and creating and adding one job classification and providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinance provisions, and an effective date. Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and OSR 3 is now approved on second reading. Finally, OSR 4. This is a second reading quasi-judicial ordinance approving a rezoning from General Industrial District to Northwest Regional Activity Center Mixed Use East District regarding 647 Northwest 6th Avenue. Anyone wishing to speak must be sworn in, and the Commission will announce any site visits, communications, or expert opinions received and make them a part of the record. Commissioner Herbst, do you have any disclosures? No. Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
No.
I have no additional disclosures. Vice Mayor?
None.
And Commissioner Sturman?
None.
Okay. No one has signed up to speak. Does someone please move to close public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, the public hearing is now closed. Would someone like to introduce the ordinance?
In ordinance amending Section 47-1.6.b of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida Unified Land Development Regulations through the revision of the official zoning map of the City of Fort Lauderdale and Schedule A revised compilation attached thereto and by reference made a part thereof so as to rezone from General Industrial District to Northeast Regional Activity Center Mixed Use East District, all of Lot 1, Block 325, Progresso, according to the plat thereof as recorded in Plat Book 2, page 18 of the Public Records of Dade County, Florida, located north of Sistrunk Boulevard, east of Northwest 7th Avenue, west of Northwest 6th Avenue, and south of Northwest 7th Street, all said lands being in the city of Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Yes. Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and OSR 4 is now approved on second reading. Is there any further business of the City Commission? You've already announced your closed door. This meeting is now concluded. Thank you.
Thank you.